Welcome to A Better HR Business, the podcast that looks at how HR consultants and HR tech firms grow their businesses and how they help their employers to get the best out of their people. Remember, for show notes and downloads, go to www.getmorehrclients.com/podcast. That's getmorehrclients.com/podcast. Okay, let's get started.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining me today. Great to have you along. I'm really looking forward to today's conversation with Jill Kane. Jill is a workplace wellbeing consultant and HR expert who partners with organizational leaders and their teams to co-create a sustainable wellbeing strategy that's inclusive, engaging, and integrated throughout the entire employee experience. Jill, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and for a conversation.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Whereabouts are you based?
I'm in Massachusetts. I'm just south of Boston, about 10 miles south. It's good.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, let's get started. Do you want to start by giving us a little bit about your background, and then we can feed into what you and your business do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a workplace wellness consultant, and I help organizations, really help organizational leaders identify the needs of their employees and really build out kind of a customized plan for their well-being initiatives. And I like to tie it to overall strategy. My background has been in HR for over 20 years. So I really have that perspective of, how do all of the HR policies and programs and practices we have in place today really impact and drive engagement and well-being. So that's kind of the main focus of my work.
Yeah. And I suspect you're going to be an overnight success with 20 years in the running, as in global pandemic and remote work and the stresses of Zoom fatigue and all this sort of stuff. Workplace well-being has hit its day or has arrived, right?
Yeah, that's really the thing. I mean, over the past year, I just feel like there's even more of an emphasis and maybe more of an awareness and more of a focus and priority on well-being in all aspects, especially the mental well-being. I feel like that's really come to the forefront. Yeah. So while it was such a challenging time on the side of it being more focused on well-being, that's kind of exciting, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's great. So do you want to describe what your business does and who do you help, and then perhaps some of the typical use cases or problems that you do solve for clients?
Yeah, sure. So really, I kind of provide, I call it kind of like being a project manager for well-being. So what I found, I've worked inside of companies to help them with their well-being initiatives. And oftentimes I find that either there's not a dedicated person to that role and it's kind of added on to another role within the HR department. And there's a lot of kind of going from the ground up in doing this work without a lot of guidance, or with kind of relying on the health insurance provider to kind of provide some direction and initially help set it up. But it's never really been, in some companies, they're kind of a dedicated function, if you will. So I find that to be one of the challenges. And then also most of the companies I'm working with and looking to work with now are in the space where they're really growing fast. So they're adding employees. They've kind of, built out their HR function, or they're just starting to, but really they don't have a dedicated person in place to concentrate on the well-being and engagement initiatives. Yeah. And they really just need help because they're adding staff really quickly and want to make sure that their culture is intentional and intact. So those are the kind of companies I focus on. And being in the Boston area, we have a lot of high-tech, biotech, pharma. We have a lot of hospitals and education, colleges. So we have a good amount of workforce here, a lot of highly educated people, a lot of really fast growing startup kind of companies. So I think that those are the companies that really need my services the most, because they're adding a lot of employees and they really want to make sure that they're taking care of their people. They're able to attract and retain those top quality candidates and keep them there for the long haul, because it is such a competitive market. And I think that aside from I know my background's really in employee compensation, and pay is certainly important, but also people stay at a company because of the people, because of the work itself, and because of all those other intangible things. So I think that it's really important to look at those. And like you mentioned with the pandemic, and everybody working remotely, and just all of the fears and different challenges over the past year with people working at home with kids at home and different work situations, different health situations, taking care of kids or their parents possibly. There's just been a number of challenges for people, and everybody's situation is a little bit different. So it's really brought a lot of focus on how do we best support people's mental health so that they can, work optimally and just have a good balance in life and not feel either really isolated or really overworked. So
Yeah,
there's been a lot, I find, a lot more focus on well-being over the last year. And
that
I
is
think
good.
that, yeah, it's just going to continue, in my opinion.
Yeah. And you mentioned the attraction and retention side of things because, with the high tech businesses and the medical companies and so on, there's a lot of competition for talent. Uh, y- you've got a background in compensation, you mentioned. In the sense that you see, salary increases over time and pressure on that when you've got a tight labor market. Do you see the same in the wellness space that there are I don't know, new perks or new approaches to wellness that people are just trying to get the edge on other companies, other employers in this space? Do you see anything like that?
Well, so some of the trends I see with wellness, it seems there's a lot of focus on well-being in technology. So how do we make it accessible to more people? And there's a lot of great wellness platforms out there. And I think what's different with the work I do is, even though technology is great, it really can't replace the human touch.
Mm,
And having, somebody really go into your organization and understand the work and the day-to-day workflow and the needs and how teams work together, and designing solutions specifically around those things, I think is important. Um, and again, depending upon the companies, so some companies, with the technology, um, they're more, it's easier for them to use. So
yeah,
in some
yeah.
companies, we have companies where there are a lot of people who do manufacturing, or they're, in retail. They're in a situation where they can't constantly check in on their phone, and they can't log into those apps, or they just don't want to. They're not conditioned to do that. It's not part of their culture as it is. So you really have to be mindful of the type of organization, the way people work, and the way people currently kind of live in their needs, to develop something
Mm,
that's going to work for everybody. So I find that's the biggest challenge. There are a lot more well-being solutions out there, and I think that'll continue. But I think it's really about companies looking at the bigger picture, right? Like, how can this work long term? Um, and in my experience, some of the companies I've worked at have really great well-being offerings. So they offer a lot of incentives and discounts and fitness apps and all kinds of different programs going on, but then it's a matter of communicating it out. And
yeah.
are people feeling overwhelmed, right? Last year, even if you maybe wanted to prioritize your well-being and self-care and taking time to do some of these things, it may not have been possible because of your schedule. So how do we reach those people as well?
Absolutely. You're talking about there's the tech solutions out there, and there's also the human element and combining them and then making sure that it fits the right business. I think that's great advice for any consultant in any sphere, that you really need to tailor the offerings to what the business needs, and or just define your business as offering something specific and then seeking businesses with that particular need. You have also another interesting side to you and your business, in the sense that, as well as helping employers embed a wellness culture, you also run a parallel business coaching program called the Wellness Business Mentorship. Can you tell me a little bit about that? What it's all about, and how does it work, and who is it for?
Yeah, sure. So that's the other side of my business, where
Mm,
I help health coaches mostly, and wellness service providers. So anybody who is a coach or consultant who has a wellness focus, um, to really kind of get clarity and figure out, how to launch their business and how to develop a program. So I really focus on helping them come up with a signature program around their own expertise that they can deliver either to corporate or to just, coaching clients. So it's really a deep dive into that, and it's
Yeah.
a 6-month program that I run online exclusively. But yeah, it's been great. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy helping people get started, because I know for me it was quite a journey and a lot of challenges. So I'm happy to share that knowledge now with people.
That's great. I know when I started, it was all about an hourly rate. So when you consult, you do some work, you charge an
Mhm.
hourly rate or a day rate. But over the years, it's certainly evolved. I love the fact that you're offering this and coaching wellness consultants and coaches on how to develop something a little bit different. That it's more of a packaged or a very defined service that they can offer above and beyond the straight up consulting rate. Is that an accurate description?
Yeah, definitely for consultants. I totally agree with that. And I think even I see that on the coaching side of things. There's, especially with health coaches, I find that I know for myself, I took a health coaching program, but there really wasn't any business training at all with that. Kind of had to learn a lot on my own and through hiring other coaches. And what I've learned is that a lot of people in that space tend to undercharge and underprice, or to
Mm.
offer hourly rates as well. So they're not getting consistent income or recurring income. So I really like to say, like, let's build out your one program around your expertise and set it up so you can get that recurring revenue. And it's, less stressful to run than, chasing clients and trying to find out where your next client is going to come from.
Mm.
So I love processes and systems. So I like to kind of help people with that end of it, and putting something in place that's going to make their lives easier and really build their career, their passion, they got into health coaching and what they're doing because they really enjoy working with people and helping people become healthier. And really, that's my bigger vision, is to help as many people, become healthier as possible. So doing it through helping these other coaches be successful in their business is really rewarding for me.
Mm. I know people talk about the finding your why a lot, but it's a very nice target. So you're helping people to help others. So your flow on effect would be huge. So I really like that. So for either business, whether it's the wellbeing consulting or the mentorship on the wellness business side of things, how do you go about attracting new clients, and what are your tips and advice for others?
Yeah, so it's a different approach for both programs. So for the wellness business mentorship, I find most of my clients are on Facebook. So I have a Facebook group that I, you know, um, generally do some either classes or 5-day training events. And so I usually do some free training and weekly trainings in those groups for
Hmm.
those health coaches and wellness service providers. So that's Build Your Wellness Empire Facebook group. And so that's usually the way that I tend to get clients. It's through them really getting to see me in action, really, because there's a lot of noise online. It's
Yeah.
tougher to kind of just, I'm not the hard sell approach at all. I like to, provide that upfront and then enroll people into my program or one-on-one, however they want to work with me, for the coaches. And then for the consulting side, so for my B2B focus, really am focusing on LinkedIn, because I have a HR background. I find it a little bit easier to connect with people in HR and just having conversations. I feel like, it's important to kind of know your best personal approach. Like some people can do these really, big events where they're
Yeah.
speaking to thousands of people, and some people are better one-on-one. And so I think with that type of service, I'm better one-on-one because, when I talk to the HR people, they really understand it, right? One of the challenges I find with, even though there is this focus on well-being now in corporate, because there's so many other things going on right now, I think that sometimes it's still a little bit pushed to the side, or to kind of like, yeah, I know it's important, but I have this other fire over here I have to address. So having the one-on-one opportunities to have the conversation and really talk about, no, actually, it's not just another program and just another, fitness app or challenge that I'm going to introduce. It's the whole integration of well-being into your workforce. Like, how do you really take care of your people through all of the work you're currently doing and through your own team? Because I work with their organization and identify wellness champions, people who are going to continue to carry on the work that I start when I work with them. So it's not just somebody's coming in, you're hiring a consultant and everything's great for a while and then they kind of put it off to the side. I like to see them, have the tools and everything that they need to continue on.
It's the challenge of any consultant who's trying to get in cultural change, isn't it? Like the diversity and inclusion expert who, I don't know, goes in, gives a workshop or a talk for an hour to the management team and then leaves. And then their concern might be, well, that management team is just going to check that box, tick the box and say, yep, we're diverse now. Or companies that want to get the cool atmosphere like a tech company. So they put in a couple of bean bags and some foosball tables and think that they're Google now. So yeah, there's a lot more that goes into embedding cultural change, that's for sure. You mentioned conversations on LinkedIn on the B2B side. Are you talking about just sort of posting stuff or actually chatting to people in the messaging side of things? How do you do that?
Yeah, surprisingly, I don't really post that much. I will post a few times a week, but mostly it's just having the conversations in Messenger. And I find people are really willing, I guess more so than Facebook in my case, to hop on the phone and just have a call. And I guess it's because I sort of present things as a conversation. I'm not there to sell necessarily, but I'm also using it as an opportunity for myself to do some market research to really understand different companies, what their challenges are. And if it seems like a fit, then great. And if not, it's at least got that conversation and starting to build that relationship, because it is really a relationship kind of business. If I'm with consulting, I'm sure you've probably felt that way as well. It's more about not this high volume, get as many clients as you can into your program, but a more hands-on approach where you're going to work with a handful of clients, but really high touch. And I really enjoy that.
Absolutely. I love it. It's very crowded on LinkedIn ever since the coronavirus and has pushed everyone online. How do you avoid the overwhelm that people get in their LinkedIn inboxes? How do you get in touch with people? And what are you actually saying to them that says, yeah, let's have a chat on the phone?
Yeah, so generally, like, I always send a message when I request to connect with anybody. I never just connect that way. And it's a short message, just kind of introducing myself, saying, I see we both have, identify a commonality is a great way.
Nice.
Or even if they've posted something recently that you can acknowledge. So I kind of do that. I find I'm pretty good, I guess, with getting people to accept the request. I probably am at 40% of people right now, but then I find too that people will accept the request months later because they're not always on LinkedIn. So that's the other challenge. It's a little bit slower. But I find just being yourself, not trying to immediately come off with, you know, hey, this is all about me. Here's all my information. Check it out. Let me know. Like, I don't really find success with that approach. I'm more of the, let me identify something in common, ask some questions, share some free resources, and then um, jump on a phone call. That's kind of the way that I approach things, and find more success in that route. Always coming with a giving hand rather than trying to extract, I guess, would be my advice.
Yeah, that's very good advice. So in terms of advice, what is your advice when it comes to growing a successful HR business?
I think number one with any business really is just getting clarity on what you want to do, like what your focus is. And I know there's so many people and coaches to talk about the ideal client profile and who is it. And I think it's always a work in progress, but you have to start somewhere. And it's really about the problem that you solve. I think if you have clarity on the problem that you solve, then the rest can kind of fall into place. So that's where this program, like, or with the well-being consulting,
Yeah.
it's really about identifying what that main problem is. So is it that they have high turnover and they can't figure out how to keep employees there? So how do we go in and not just introduce a wellness program, but really one that's going to address that? Or like I mentioned, if we're in a fast-growing company and they're having challenges with just how many people they're bringing on and getting everybody connected and socialized, and how do we do that in a way that they can stay engaged and really develop those relationships quickly. So I like to look at those kind of things when I'm in organizations.
That's great advice. And I'm always interested in what's coming down the line and where is the world of work going. So what do you see the future holding for HR in the world of work, and what should listeners do about it?
Yeah, this is such a great topic because something I'm always looking up and like really doing research on. I just find it fascinating, the whole future of work topic. And especially, I feel like everything, especially in the past year, is just
Yeah.
fast tracked, right? Like all the challenges that they were there, but now that we went through 2020, it's just fast tracked. Um, for example, like the company I'm working with now, they're really on top of things. They're really great. And so when we all had to go remote, it was no problem. Everybody was capable. Everybody's computer was, you know, capable of going remote. So our IT department, they were right on it. They were ready. And I know that was a challenge for other companies, right? It took them longer to do
Yeah.
that, make that transition. So I think it's about being ready. But also, it's really interesting all the different generations in the workforce and what their priorities are. I think we're going to see definitely more remote work, more flexibility in schedules, more um, flexibility in terms of making lateral career moves. So there's not going to be this straight up kind of hard
Mm.
defined career ladder. I think there's going to be more opportunities for people to kind of grow in different directions within a company. So I think there's a lot of great things that are going to happen to help with companies becoming more innovative and more flexible. Definitely, we have a global workforce now, but I think we'll continue to see that evolve as well, with everybody being able to work remotely. It'll open up more, capability in the talent pool to beyond your location. So there's going to be a lot of changes. And I think, with my backgrounds in compensation, I'm always thinking about what does this mean for compensation? Because we generally price jobs based on the
Yeah.
location, right? So how is that going to change things? So it'll be really interesting. For sure, there's going to be a lot of challenges for HR and a lot of opportunity as well.
Absolutely. Exciting times ahead, that's for sure. So, Jill, this has been amazing. What if people want to learn more about you, send business your way, partner with you? What should they do next?
Sure, thank you. You can reach out to me at my website is jill-kane, Kane.com. Also on LinkedIn, I'm just under Jill Kane. You can find me on LinkedIn or on my Facebook group again is the Build Your Wellness Empire, and at Jill Kane Fit on Facebook. So if you are interested in coaching with me as if you're a health coach or wellness business service provider and you want to get into corporate wellness or create your own program for customers, you can check out my wellness business mentorship on my website, or, ask me anything you want about corporate wellness as well. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Excellent. So, if you're listening to this, definitely go and check out those links. If you're listening to this on the go, check out the show notes, and we'll have those links for the Facebook group and for Jill's website. And do check out the mentorship. I think that's a great idea. Before I let you go, Jill, I see you've got a Clubhouse username. I've never been on Clubhouse yet, I'm ashamed to admit. Have you been on there, and what's
Oh,
it like?
yeah, I'll have to send you an invite.
Oh.
I'm not on as much as I'd like, usually because if my kids are home, one of them has my phone. So, but I enjoy it. So it's an audio only kind of platform, and you're on it, but nothing is recorded. So it's just a live kind of chat and you pop
Okay.
in. So it's really interesting. That's great for collaborations. I'm trying to find the HR communities on there right now. So it's still new. If you're not on yet, definitely check that out. I'm at Jill_Kane on there if anybody wants to connect with me on Clubhouse.
Brilliant. So thank you very much, Jill. And for people listening, it's www.jill-kane.com. Jill, thank you very much for sharing your story and your advice.
Thank
I've
you.
had a great chat and I really enjoyed our conversation today.
Yeah, me too. Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining us today on A Better HR Business, the podcast that explores the world of HR consulting and HR tech businesses. For show notes and downloads, go to www.getmorehrclients.com/podcast. That's getmorehrclients.com/podcast. Remember to subscribe and share the show with any friends who are busy growing a HR business. Thanks and see you next time.